Here, you're ready for your dose of reality. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Dr. Quack podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Quack,
and I'm the important one, Mr. Mayhem. And what is that?
Well, this is called a cowboy hat.
No, that is not called a cowboy hat. That is called an insult.
What?
That cost you what? Probably $10 at the local gas station?
Actually, it cost me 20.
That's all I need to say from there. I've been trying to get him to dress better, and this is what he calls dressing better.
Well, there's a reason for the cowboy hat, let me tell you.
There better be a good reason for that insulting embarrassment.
Oh, one of our favorite people.
One of our favorite people. Nick caught us back.
No.
Nick, come on, we want to hear from you again, buddy.
This would actually be Don from Texas.
Don from the mail.
Yeah!
Oh, what did he have to say? I hope it was better than last time. He better have apologized.
Oh, this is great. I'll read it to you here.
Okay, I'm curious. I want to hear this apology. I hope it's heartfelt, Don.
Hey, Doc. Thanks for answering my last question. I really enjoyed hearing what you had to say. That loudmouth in the hat, not so much.
Don!
Why did you hire him anyways? I think he's pretty good. I don't have a problem.
I'm the host of this show. Of course I'm really good. I hired him, Don.
It's your podcast. That's right. It is my podcast. Thank you. Well, I have another question for you. What is your favorite pay-per-view of all time? And would you review it here on the podcast? Thanks, Don from Texas.
That's a good question, Don, but really, the insults of the important one? What are you going to do next? You going to make fun of my name? Oh. Come on, Don. I thought you were better than this. So anyway, let's move on from Don. Don, and let's hear it. I want to know. I'm curious on what your favorite pay-per-view is.
Well, this is definitely one of my tops for sure. It might actually be my favorite because of certain matches. But this one here took place in 2001. This was WWF. Yeah, not E. It was still the F. Backlash.
2001 Backlash.
Do you remember that
one? That was right shortly after the purchase of WCW, if I remember right.
Very true, yes.
All right, that horrible debacle that Shane bought the company. But I remember there was some really good wrestling right before all the invasion angles, so...
And I had to wear this in honor of good old JR doing commentary alongside Paul Heyman in Chicago.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. This took place in Chicago, so there's no need for this.
Well, we went with Oklahoma here. That's right.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, this was a really great card in my opinion. You had Lillian Garcia, Michael Cole, Jonathan Coachman, and Kevin Kelly. All four of them doing backstage interviews at this time.
Yeah, Lillian Garcia, bad hair job, Michael Cole. This guy's got the horrible blonde streaks. He looks like he's trying to pretend he's 18 years old, but he looks like he's 40. Kevin Kelly was always interesting. The coach, I think the coach had just recently started.
Yeah,
he hadn't been there very long.
Yeah, this was actually one of his first pay-per-views, I'm sure.
And also, this is a pre-enhancement Stephanie McMahon show.
Yes. And if you don't know what enhancement is, you look that up. I'm not going into that one.
And they also brought out the now-defunct WWF New York.
Yep, WWF New York came out. We had, who did we have on?
They had Steve Blackman and Grandmaster Sexay.
Yes, they did. Oh my God.
One lack of Charisma, speaking skills, and the other one who had a lot of charisma but couldn't keep his mouth shut long enough to allow it to happen. That was, I'm glad they only went there once. So anyway, we're getting off topic here. So since it's your pay-per-view, your favorite, what was our first match?
Oh, I'm going to tell you. And, you know, it was a good start off here. You had the Dudley Boys, Bubba Ray, Devon, and Spike taking on XFactor. You know, that'd be X-Pac, Just Incredible, and the A-Train in a 6-man tag.
There was a reason XFactor didn't last very long.
Ugh. I love the group, though. I actually thought it was like, you know,
It had potential.
Yes.
But they put X-Pac in charge of it. So anyway, XFactor did go over. This match was decent. I gave it a 2 stars with an extra star for the after effects of things that went on. There were some downfalls. Spike Dudley and Just Incredible, you could tell the nerds were running heavy. They were sloppy and falling all over themselves. But I'm going to give them a pass because when it's your first time at the super big dance, sometimes it is too much for you and you have to spend a little bit to get in there. So I gave the match 2 stars with 1 star extra at the end for all the extracurricular because that was a really good act.
Yeah, I thought it was a good, solid opener. By the way, Teddy Long, holla, 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 was the referee at this time. This is way before he became general manager and got into the backstage. This was him pretty much, you know, doing his thing like he'd been doing for many years. I gave it 2.5 stars. I felt like it was a very solid opener. Could have been better. Like you said, the ending, going through tables, you know, really kind of helped things out. A 3D, of course, always makes me smile.
And I did have one other note here. This match was too booked. There's several old school vets that talk about how people stand and wait for things to happen. They don't, so it doesn't look like a wrestling show. It looks like a stunt fight. This falls into that category.
Yeah, I mean, overall it wasn't bad. But here, let me move on here. This was back when you had this championship. The hardcore title. Rhino taking on Raven.
The title that Mr. Perfect made famous by hitting with a hammer.
See, now, everybody likes to say that, but they said that's actually false. There are people that have tried to disprove that. Do you know the answer? Is that it?
The answer is it happened on a Saturday night's main event.
So we're going to go with that. Okay, so we're going to go with that as being the reason.
Now, I don't think this is the same title. I think they created one purposely to look destroyed. I don't think they kept the one that he hit with a hammer.
Right.
But all in all, Rhino and Raven, this was 2 people who came from the old ECW, the Extreme Championship Wrestling / Eastern Championship Wrestling. And they got their start there, and they really made Paul Heyman proud. Paul Heyman was on the commentary. And Raven, who 27-time hardcore champion of the WWF, holds the record. But on this night, Rhino went over. The crowd was really hot. This was hardcore wrestling done right. I'm not a big fan of hardcore wrestling because it takes away the one chair shot ending a match. But the crowd was hot. The storytelling of how these guys wanted to get at each other, the intensity of the match was really good. I did give this match 3 stars.
Yeah, I gave it the same there. I mean, you had the shopping cart used a lot in this match, which I was very proud to see. Being hit with one of those is not one of the funnest things that you could ever take. Also, the kitchen sink being used. I mean, when they say they break out everything but the kitchen sink, this one had it.
But they were used judiciously. They didn't use them too much. It was for effect, but not over effect.
Right. So the psychology in the match was great. I definitely gave it 3 stars on that. And moving down the line, by the way...
Well, you're not dressed appropriately to signify this match. So I will take care of this one for you.
By the way, Rhino got 3, retained the title.
Yeah, I mentioned that too.
Okay.
But anyway, this one here, William Regal taking on Y2J Chris Jericho in the Duchess of Queensberry match.
Oh, the Duchess.
You know, William Regal did a great job of introducing Her Majesty, and you don't deserve to talk to her.
Yeah, you go ahead, sir.
So, This match was a throwback to when William Regal took on Ric Flair in the Marquis de Queensberry match. This was a little bit different. They didn't quite go with the hard rounds. They kind of were a little more subjective with the rounds. The storytelling was good. It was a fun match, especially after the intensity of coming out of the hardcore match. Steve Regal went over in his classic Marquis or in the Duchess de Queensberry match, and I gave it 2 3/4 stars. Yeah. Now remember, speak appropriately and genuflect when you speak about the Duchess.
No, believe me, I am not going to be speaking like that because, you know, Chris Jericho already cut that promo at the beginning. That made me laugh so hard seeing William Regal with the Duchess body right there, calling him pretty much a queen. You know, and that was always the thing with William Regal that, you know, opponents used. I thought it was a great match overall, the psychology involved, and of course the rule changes throughout the match. Oh, it's no disqualification. Oh, there's a second period. You know, I gave it 3 stars. I felt like it was a great setting of the table style match.
And Don, that's why the important one is here, to make sure the Duchess of Queensberry gets the respect she deserves.
Thank you, Don, for recommending this, by the way. I really appreciate it. Moving on, now this here was definitely one of my favorite matches of all time. This was Chris Benoit versus Kurt Angle in the Ultimate Submission match. They went for 30 minutes to see who could get the most submissions out of 2 of probably arguably the greatest technicians in the wrestling world.
Not only great technicians, great submission wrestlers.
Yes.
And they actually went overtime on this one. This one actually went into sudden death overtime. I've been a huge Chris Benoit fan. I'm a huge Kurt Angle fan. I was a fan of both of them. And for those of you at home that think we shouldn't be paying respect to Chris Benoit, we're talking about Chris Benoit, the wrestler, not Christopher Michael Benoit, the man that tragically, the events of June of 2007. For those of you that don't know about that, check out the Dark Side of the Ring. It's got a 2-part episode on the tragedy of Chris Benoit. We're not talking about that part. We're talking about him in the ring. And this match was awesome.
Yeah, this was truly your classic, you know, it started out old school style amateur wrestling. You really saw the reversals, the switches, and everything involved in it. This match to me, now everybody goes Savage Steamboat was the greatest match in WrestleMania 3, but to me, this was definitely the greatest match of all time. I gave it 4.5 stars. I felt like this, you couldn't get much better than this match.
I gave this one 4 stars for the only reason I gave it 4 stars. Unfortunately, the downside of a submission match or an ultimate match where you have a time limit that's going to happen is the crowd will be a little flat. I've seen a couple, the Stone Cold and Bret Hart.
Yeah.
They kept the crowd up and down and built a roller coaster. This one kind of just stayed on plane all the way through until about the last 10 minutes. So I only gave this 4 star, but there's a couple other interesting things about this. This was pre-You Suck chant for Kurt Angle.
Yeah.
That did not even happen yet. And Chris Benoit did go over in overtime sudden death, and I gave this match 4 stars.
Yeah, this was also pre-whatever for Chris Benoit's theme song as well. This was actually one of his originals. This wasn't too far off from when he joined, you know, the WWE within a year, you know, about there, right?
Yeah, with the Radicals.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, it definitely was a great one there. Moving along here, Shane McMahon taking on the Big Show in the last man standing match. I have to tell you, I was entertained.
I was too. They did a really good package. The package of this one was only about 3 minutes explaining that Vince and Shane were feuding because Shane stole WCW out from under him, took Vince's grand victory away. And the Big Show was the hired gun to take out Shane McMahon and punish him. And Stephanie had sided with Vince against Shane. So Shane was playing babyface here. Again, this was a great match, like the Regal Y2J match coming out of the intensity. This was a very fun match, and the crowd cared. The crowd was into this at this point. Again, the invasion itself really kind of killed any of the crowd feeling for this. So this is before that, when the crowd cared that, hey, we got WCW guys on WWF television. So, although the match was kind of a schlock fest is basically it was all the corn and all the cheese you could throw at a match, but it was fun and the crowd got into it. I gave it 2 stars.
Yeah, I'm a little higher. I gave it 3. I really enjoyed, the Shane McMahon jump off the top with that elbow. He's done it several times. This was actually, I believe, the first time he had did it. But when he hit the ground, you saw wood splinter. So it wasn't like he was just hitting a, heavy mat and just flopping right there. He actually, did that. And of course, Test helped him out by putting him on the sound equipment and keeping his feet on the ground.
The test appearance on the card is why I moved it down to 2 stars. Just when Stacy Keibler and Trish Stratus can't get you over, nothing can.
This is true. Rest in peace,
Test.
Test. But yeah, I mean, he had an interesting career. But we'll move along here. So you had Matt Hardy, right? Just starting to go into a singles role here at one point, with taking on Christian, when her Edge and Christian would all split up, and Eddie Guerrero for the European Championship.
This match had so much potential. So much potential. This is at the time when the European title, the fans still kind of cared about it. Matt Hardy came in hot. Christian came in hot. Eddie Guerrero kind of flat, a little bit underwhelming for Eddie Guerrero. And this match was so overbooked. This was beyond a stunt show. This was, basically they threw too much at the crowd, and the crowd didn't really care. The crowd really sat on their hands until Jeff Hardy and Edge all started running in, and there was the big finisher spots and finisher fests, and they started pulling out the ladders. Until that point, the crowd really didn't care about this match.
Yeah.
I only gave it 2 stars.
Yeah, I gave it 2.5. I felt like it was a little flat at some points. I mean, Matt Hardy did end up winning the match. Eddie Guerrero looking like he was almost beat down just trying to stop the 3 count. But yeah, it was a great ending to a match. But yeah, most of that match was...
Yeah, there was several points where Christian or Eddie Guerrero would be sitting at the edge, and you could see him like this, watching the match for like 45 seconds, waiting for their spot. That's what I mean by it was way overbooked.
And the main event here, he who has the gold has the power. Yeah, that was the big thing. Paul Heyman kept pushing all through the promos of this for a whole month. And you could see it. It was a great match. Winner take all. The 2-man power trip. Stone Cold Steve Austin and Triple H taking on the Brothers of Destruction, Kane and The Undertaker. And Stephanie McMahon, of course, was in the corner of the 2-man power trip there.
Yeah, this is when they were running an angle that Triple H had kidnapped Stephanie and drugged her and took her to a wedding chapel and married her. So they weren't married at this time. This was storyline only.
Yeah, and this, of course, was right after, he signed with the devil, talking about Austin and McMahon.
And the crowd didn't buy it. The crowd did not want to see the 2-man power trip. When it first happened, it was kind of the shock of, oh my God, what did Austin do? And then after that, they kept trying to cheer it. And the crowd just didn't buy it. The crowd did not buy the 2-man power trip.
They did not like seeing their hero become a villain.
And this match really didn't have a roller coaster to it. Triple H bumping his butt off all over the place, but he didn't really do a whole lot. Stone Cold basically punching and kicking didn't do a whole lot. Kane had I don't know if it was a real injury or fake injury. By the way, kayfabe word of the day is kayfabe itself. The word kayfabe means to hide what the real thing is. Whether it's their real name or a real injury, you call it kayfabe. So anyway,
word of the day, folks.
I gave this match 3 stars, even though the crowd didn't buy it. Triple H was the one that went over, so the 2-man power trip won the tag titles, where Triple H was the Intercontinental Champ and half the tag champ, and Stone Cold was the World Champ and half the tag champs. This match gets 3 stars because while everybody gives Steph a hard time, she took a killer bump off of Kane's boot.
She did. She took an incredible bump. That was A+. You know, I mean, the match itself for me, I gave it 3 3/4 stars. I felt like this one was actually a really good setup story for a good month because I remember watching it, you know, when it happened, and I remember, you know, anticipating, going, man, can they win? Who's going to win all the gold? I was really excited about this match. You know, also seeing Vince come down there and getting ready to possibly take a choke slam, and Triple H, of course, using his sledgehammer. It was all mass chaos at the end, but the funniest part was when Earl Hebner pushed Stephanie McMahon off the apron onto the ground, and I died on that. I gave it 3 3/4 stars.
Yeah, I felt that while you're right, the build-up was incredible. Again, with the crowd not buying it, it kind of was an underwhelming match.
Yeah.
The hype was better than the match itself.
I mean, as you can see, look, this wasn't like your WrestleMania. This wasn't an 11, 12 card, 12 match card there. This was actually 7 matches. This is something I always liked in wrestling. When you have a 7 match card, I feel like that's a sweet spot.
I would have to agree with you. I think 3 to 4 hours is too long. 2 to 2.5 is right about where you want to be. And this card was 2 hours and 32 minutes or something like that. So
Yeah.
right on where it should have been.
Yeah, it did a really great job. Thank you, Don in Texas. I really appreciate this. I'm glad I got to actually bring out one of my favorites in all of the world of professional wrestling. And I'm your host, Dr. Quack. And
I'm the important one, Mr. Mayhem, telling you, Don, next time you better speak reverently of the important one.
don't forget the Quackies. They're coming up. And I'm out.